Hello, and welcome to another episode of the TCW Fixing Ahsoka Analysis Series. We need a better name.
I thought it was just the analysis series.
Okay, the Analysis Series. Bum bum bum.
Where we analyze and rewrite.
Analyze, rewrite, destroy. What?
Not that.
No, not that.
No,
okay,
definitely
we're
not
working.
that.
I lost the vote to do this in chronological order, the right way. But speaking of which, stuff like that happens on our Discord server, so if you want to hang out, potentially vote when we disagree on something, then check that out. We'd love to have you. And we're doing Season 3, Episode 4, because that's episodic order. Losers. No cookies, for those of you who didn't vote for me.
But lots of donuts.
Lots of donuts.
Lots of donuts.
Season 3, Episode 4, Sphere of Influence. This is what we wrote in the argument against Ahsoka. After Anakin and Ahsoka learn that two Pantorans have been kidnapped, Anakin says that it's a job for local police and states the Jedi are not officially allowed to investigate the matter. Ahsoka says that if she acts on her own, then it's not official, and Anakin agrees that since the Separatists are involved, then she should go ahead without approval from the Jedi. This attitude of flying under the radar is painted as bad on Anakin, but not Ahsoka. Ahsoka is all of a sudden conveniently good friends with Senator Chuchi, even though this is literally the only episode that we see them interact at all. Ahsoka informs Senator Chuchi that she has never successfully performed a mind trick before, and then proceeds to flawlessly perform a mind trick not once, but twice. Ahsoka is oblivious to the fact that the guard she mind tricked is not letting Chuchi get by him, even though he said it loud enough for her to hear, yet Ahsoka doesn't even check to make sure Chuchi is following her and continues on her way until Chuchi calls her back. Ahsoka is suddenly capable of effortlessly taking down 6 clankers all by herself. Yoda is given trouble with a similar number in Season 1, Episode 1.
I kind of just like our wording in regards to the mind trick, because she doesn't flawlessly perform it both times. She successfully performs it both times, but she doesn't flawlessly perform it both times.
It is kind of flawless because he doesn't even seem to be aware of the fact that he let her by. He's just oh, okay, now there's this person in front of me. This person is not allowed to go. It's just this inconsequential wording thing, right? She does it successfully, like you said, but flawlessly in her success, but not necessarily flawlessly in her wording. But because it doesn't create any consequence, then it's just, oh, shoot, I forgot to say we instead of me. Wow, big deal.
Huh.
That's my opinion anyways.
Okay.
And since my opinion is always right, here we go. A child stolen is a hope lost. Back in the beginning of Season 2, there were children stolen, and Ahsoka was more concerned about getting revenge on Bane than, getting the children back.
In regards to the Padawan Lost episode, a child stolen was definitely not a hope lost. No lost hope there.
That's so cruel. Moving on. Oh, I already picked out a quote for this one. Don't cry because it's over. Smile because if you don't, everyone's going to ask you what's wrong.
That is very true.
It is very true, and it's kind of annoying.
Though in that case, I'd almost want people to ask me what was wrong, because then I could tell them that TCW is wrong.
Ahsoka doesn't actually show up until the 5-minute mark, really. And given that's usually the space of their setup, it's interesting. She's not even in the setup. She just comes in at the very tail end of the setup, and then is just I'm here and I'm great friends with Chuchi. Let's go.
If that's not shoehorning, I don't know what is.
Maybe it'd be worthwhile to have her like pop up sooner in the episode, because after the Senate hearing, then Padme kind of stops and chats to Chuchi, is just like, hey, you know, we support you. I know the Separatists have approached you, but like don't go with them, and you know, I know what you're going through, that kind of thing. If you had Ahsoka with Padme, obviously I'd have Anakin there too, so it's not just like, okay, why is Ahsoka randomly with Padme? But then she and Chuchi can exchange some words as well, that kind of just the kind of dialogue that kind of implies, hey, this is not just a formal relationship, it's a you know, we're friends, we know each other, we've talked before, that kind of thing.
Yeah, because I did notice that, like, even after Ahsoka's like, oh, we're good friends, then their relationship it feels very formal. So, like, they did not do a good job at all of portraying that supposed friendship.
Because if she just said, oh, you know, I know Senator Chuchi, or, you know, I'm friends, like just friends, then I feel like I'd let it go a little more. But if you're like, oh, I'm good friends, then that kind of implies a certain level of closeness. If you then have them speaking as if they're just acquaintances, then it's kind of like, okay, what happened to good friends? It would be even better if you had something. I think the only other time we see Chuchi is that other episode with her where it's just Anakin and Obi-Wan. If you had Ahsoka in that episode as well, then you could potentially have a friendship start there, or like the hints of a friendship starting there, but I don't know exactly how you would utilize Ahsoka in that episode without it feeling like, oh, she's just being shoved in here. Which, I mean, again, we've talked about this before, is kind of how she feels in general. That she's not bringing much to the table in terms of, like, characterization or depth of, like, story. She's just there.
What episode of season 1 was Trespass again?
It's episode 15. So it comes right after the Jedi Crash arc. So in the Jedi Crash arc, we kind of talked about, she was learning more about the Jedi teachings of attachment and leadership and making hard decisions, like mini versus one or mini plus one. And then peacekeeping, like what does it mean? What does it look like? As well as respecting others' beliefs while not compromising your own. So that would actually kind of play well into Trespass, because I remember talking about it where it was this kind of like frustrating thing because Anakin and Obi-Wan were there, but they're like, okay, but we can't step in to stop this chairman from essentially starting a war here because we don't have any jurisdiction here and stuff like that. And so it's kind of like, again, that idea of peacekeeping and what does it mean? What does it look like? And so that, I think, would kind of be interesting to explore further in that episode. And since it comes right after, that makes sense.
But yeah, I could kind of see, because like, were we to put Ahsoka in Trespass, then I think she'd click well with Chuchi, because they're both kind of in a similar position. They're still young, they're still learning about their roles.
Yeah, and you've also got the different power, right? Because Chuchi was like, okay, do I stand up to the chairman and, you know, call the shots here, or do I just go along with what he says because he's got more authority? Or and on the same hand, you've got Ahsoka with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and we've kind of actually talked about having Ahsoka, because they have that episode where she's just randomly with Luminara, and we never really see that again. And I think it'd be cool to see that more, where you see different Padawans kind of like hanging out with like Obi-Wan or something like that, and so that Ahsoka comes into contact with more Padawans, and we also get to see Ahsoka learning from more masters. Because I think in that episode, you kind of have Anakin being the voice of like, oh, well, shouldn't, we've got to do something here. And Obi-Wan being like, no, we can't do anything here. So if you just removed Anakin and had Ahsoka kind of being that voice, and not in a way like she's usually done, where Obi-Wan is framed as being in the wrong and he should listen to Ahsoka and blah, 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 but in the role of learner. She's just questioning, and she has these ideas of what peacekeeping should look like, and then she's kind of learning about the limitations of it as well. There's an episode, in season 2, episode 17, Bounty Hunters. One of the things we had her learn was the limits of the Jedi's influence and ability to help, and that was going to be helping start the setup for the season 5 finale and why Ahsoka chooses to leave. So if you introduce that even earlier in season 1, episode 15, Trespass, then that's the first kind of like crack in, Ahsoka's steadfast belief in the Jedi, right? Because it's like, we should be peacekeeping, but is this what peacekeeping looks like, as we just sit here with our hands tied behind our backs? We can't do anything. And I think it would still be good to kind of give Chuchi the spotlight, but if you had Ahsoka there and getting to know Chuchi, starting that friendship there, and also having these questions about peacekeeping and seeing the limitations of the Jedi and stuff like that, right? Because she just finished seeing the Lerman's idea of peacekeeping, and right, so then she's kind of comparing that to the Jedi's methods of peacekeeping and kind of trying to puzzle out, is this effective, is this right? So I'd still have Ahsoka kind of pop up in the background near the beginning, so that she's not just like suddenly out of the blue, like, oh, I have this information on what's been happening with this storyline that I've thus far not had any part in.
Someone has kidnapped Chairman Papanoida's daughters.
Anakin,
The Jedi can't get involved.
the Separatists are putting a lot of pressure on Pentor to join them.
If the Jedi can't officially get involved, let me do this on my own. Senator Chuchi is a good friend of mine.
All right. With the Separatists involved, I guess it gives you cause to investigate. Go help Senator Chuchi, but don't get in the way of the local authorities.
Aren't you going to help?
I said the situation gives you cause to investigate, not us. I need to go back to the Jedi Temple and make sure the Council doesn't find out about your little expedition.
Should you really proceed without the Council's approval?
We do it all the time, don't we, Snips?
Yep.
Well, be careful, Ahsoka. I still can't believe they let you teach.
I still can't believe it either.
It's just so bad. The dialogue is awful and everything is awful and bad and sucks.
Okay, I'm just gonna go cry in the corner. Her first line where she tells them what happened.
Yeah, that's
nothing,
fine. There's nothing wrong with that.
wrong with that.
The Jedi can't...
Yeah, but then it's interesting that Padme immediately looks at Anakin like, you're gonna do something, right? How would we change it? Because I don't like the fact that Ahsoka's like, oh, well, the Jedi can't get involved? Well, then let me get involved. It's like, okay, you represent the Jedi. Like, unless you're gonna leave your Padawan braid and your lightsabers in your room and come pick them up when you're done, right? Like, you can ask your police officer friend for help with something, but he cannot help you in his official capacity as a police officer, right? Like, he's not gonna show up wearing his police officer gear. He's gonna leave that at home or at the station and then come help you as a friend. So her going as a Jedi saying, oh, I just won't go as a Jedi, I'll just go as a friend. You can't have it both ways. And like, her force powers are part of her, so I'd be fine with her using her force powers, but just not the the lightsaber and such. But then it's like, okay, well, how much can she do? Like, do we want to do that? That, like, she goes in this unofficial capacity? Or do we... Actually, that would be kind of interesting. At the end of season 5, part of our beef is like, well, you can do so much good for people as a Jedi, right? So why would you leave the Jedi and be like, I have to go do good for people on my own, right? But if we see her kind of doing that here and seeing what she can do as, you know, just herself, I think that'd be, yeah, kind of an interesting thing to explore.
Yeah, absolutely.
So yeah, maybe Anakin says, you know, the Jedi can't get involved, local police. Padme's like, well, I don't think the local police can handle this. And then Ahsoka's like, well, Senator Chuchi is a good friend of mine. May I take some time to go help her? You know, do you need me for anything? And Anakin's like, well, no, you can do that, but I would have it that Ahsoka is already showing that she understands, like, she's not going as a Jedi, so she, like, is handing Anakin her lightsaber, you know, just kind of like, okay, you know, you take this and I'll go help her. And then Anakin, you know, accepts the lightsaber as he after he kind of like hesitates and thinks about it, and then it's like, okay, yeah, I've got some stuff I can, you know, do here, and I'll wait until you get back. And then yeah, you also, as a result of that, get rid of the, oh, I have to distract the Jedi Council from figuring out what you're doing. And then you also get rid of the whole, like, oh, I can't believe they let you teach. Which, I mean, like, yeah, I can't believe they let him teach either, but it's almost like lampshading. I don't know.
You also get rid of the stupid, let me do this on my own, 30 seconds later. Aren't you going to help?
I have no idea how they missed that in the proofreading process.
I don't think they had a proofreading process. They literally just dumped the first draft out there and said, okay, it's done. No polishing needed.
Senator Amidala sent me to help if I can.
That's a lie!
Yes, it is! What the heck? Why would you say
Just
that? That is not
straight
the case.
up lied. If you're good friends, why would you lie and say, oh, I was sent here to help you by this other senator, instead of being like, hey, I'm here to help? What the heck? She just walks in and straight up lies.
And again, it makes the supposed friendship seem so formal. Because yeah, like, oh, I'm here on business. No.
I would have it, you know, the door's open and she's, you know, just like maybe calls Chuchi's name and Chuchi sees her. Oh, Ahsoka, you're here. And like, yeah, Anakin said he didn't need me. I'm here to see if I can help in any way. Like, are you okay? You know, and then turns to the chairman, is like, I was so shocked to hear about your daughters. I'm really sorry, and I'm hoping we can resolve this as quickly as possible. I would have her speak more formally to the chairman.
Yeah.
But like casually to Chuchi, right? So that's one of the things about dialogue, is getting to see those differences in how a character talks to different people.
Yeah, again, this whole formality between them. Ahsoka calls Riyo Senator Chuchi, but Riyo calls Ahsoka Ahsoka. So why not have Ahsoka call her Riyo by her first name? Because it's weird that Riyo would be on a first name basis with Ahsoka, but Ahsoka's not on a first name basis with Riyo. That doesn't indicate a friendship to me. Also, I'd give them like a little hand clasp.
A Jedi can always be of help.
Just like, I'm gonna beat the crap out of you.
It is an understandable sentiment. I get that feeling every time I look at her face.
You just see her face and you just wanna punch it.
Yep.
So you're absolutely right. I'd have Ahsoka and Riyo, you know, either hand clasp or give each other a hug or something like that. Then when Chairman Papanoida says, oh, a Jedi can always be of help, then I would have Ahsoka say, actually, I'm here in an unofficial capacity. I'm here as a friend.
Amidala thinks this may have something to do with...
And again, she's like, oh, Senator Amidala. Senator Amidala sent me. Senator Amidala thinks this has something to do with the Separatists. Senator, like...
Like, it literally has nothing to do with Padme.
yeah, this was all Ahsoka's idea, right? Like, she did get the idea from Padme that it had something to do with the Separatists, but, like, Ahsoka could figure that out on her own. I also noted at the beginning when, like, Riyo and Padme were talking, it was, again, just, like, hammering down the narrative of, like, the Separatists are pure evil. You can't join the Separatists. Don't ever go near the Separatists.
I know the Separatists have approached you to offer their help. Please do not take it.
There's no way that Pantora will ever have dealings with the Separatists. We will always be loyal to the Republic.
Which is funny because, yeah, in 6 episodes, Padme's like, oh, they're not all bad. You know, I got this, like, good friend there, and you know, you should meet her. And, like, they're just people, you know?
Wow.
Your daughters may be held on the Trade Federation ship, blockading your planet.
I love how, to keep things quick, they have characters just immediately guess the right thing. Like, it happens a lot. And, like, I can understand you've got time constraints, but at the same time, it's just like, couldn't you just have it like, oh, there's a clue? Or it's just, if the Separatists are involved, she's going to be held here, or they might be being held here, and then both of those things turn out to be true, and it's like, okay.
I'd rather that they figure it out after they get on board the Trade Federation ship.
But, like,
So,
why
like,
would
have Chuchi say that she wants to go speak to the Trade Federation delegates directly, and Ahsoka's like, hey, I'll go with you.
Yeah, that makes sense. And then while they're there, they overhear some guards talking or something, and they're like, holy moly, I think they're on the ship. And then they go searching for them. Yeah, have Ahsoka be like, oh, it's possible that the Separatists are involved in this. And I don't, like, entirely mind her connecting that to Padme, like that she got the idea from Padme. Like, that's fine. It's kind of weird here because, yeah, she's making it sound like all of this was Padme's idea when it was hers. But, yeah, I'd have her make that comment, like, you know, Senator Amidala thinks this, and then he's like, oh, well, yeah, they just contacted us. That doesn't seem like a coincidence. And then Papanoida is like, oh, well, I will follow up on that. And Riyo's like, well, you know, I'm going to go to the Trade Federation and try to negotiate a way out of this, you know, just between the two of us rather than, you know, dragging the whole Senate and bureaucracy into it, see if we can settle on something a little faster. And then, yeah, Ahsoka's like, oh, I'll go with you.
Why don't you and Chuchi pay them a diplomatic visit and see what you can find out?
Yeah, see, because he suggests it, as a ruse of a diplomatic visit. But why not just have it be a diplomatic visit, as she's trying to put an end to the blockade? That was the whole setup. Like, they've got this blockade, they need that blockade gone, right? And yes, the kidnapping changes Papanoida's goals, his focus, but I think it makes sense for Riyo to still be kind of like, okay, well, I need to focus on getting this blockade out of the way. Because they don't know right now that they're right, that the girls are being used as leverage in all this. So as far as they know, even if they find the girls, the blockade will still be there. So they kind of have to take care of both problems at once.
Yeah.
And it's also, like, I love Papanoida, he's, like, super cool, but I feel like he's kind of taking away from Riyo right now since he's the one who suggests it. I'd rather have it that he's like, okay, well, I'll follow up on that, and then she's like, and I'll, you know, keep working to get this blockade down. And so then she has an equal voice there.
I actually didn't notice that, but you're right. And yeah, like, especially because the episode that introduced Riyo kind of had the same dynamic where the chairman was putting her down, and she had to find her voice in that episode. So
I don't feel like
have
Papanoida is putting her down so much, but yeah, he's calling the shots, speaking the orders, and just be like, oh, you two go do this, instead of Riyo being like, you know, I'm gonna do this, and then Ahsoka being like, and I'll come with you.
Yeah.
It's also kind of removing Ahsoka's agency in that moment as well, right? Because now instead of her being like, hey, I'm going to come with you, it's, oh, and you're going to go with her.
Senator Chuchi, to what do we owe this pleasure? The chairman is planning to join the Separatist Alliance?
If that were the case, would you remove your blockade of Pintora?
Would we want to change the dialogue there? Because she's kind of stringing them along like, oh, we might join the Separatists. But the way we've changed it, I don't think we'd want to have her say that.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's one of those things, they just show up and they're like, what are you doing here? It's like, you didn't, like, call ahead and were like, hey, I want to meet with you regarding this. And they're like, oh, okay, come on. So I would have it that they show up and it's clear that they've discussed, you know, why they're there.
Yeah.
And so the person's like, you know, oh, so-and-so was called away. We're very sorry for, you know, the inconvenience. But you can stay here. We've got some rooms set up for you. And as soon as they return, then you can have your meeting. Something like that. Yeah, because they also, start sneaking around immediately. I would have it that maybe even as they're like entering their room and these guys are like, you know, turning to leave, then one of them kind of mutters to the other, oh, it's not safe to have them here on the ship. You know, what if they find out? And the other one's like, shh. They overhear that discussion. That just drops enough information that when they're alone together, they're kind of like, you know, do you think the girls might be here? And then they agree, well, you know, let's take a look around.
It would probably make sense for the Trade Federation to put a full-time guard on them, because they wouldn't want people from the Republic
just wandering around on their
and
ship,
possibly stumbling across the fact that they're holding the chairman's daughter's prisoner.
But
I guess, though, if there was only one guard assigned to them, then Ahsoka could mind trick that guard.
Yeah, you could have the girls in their room and they're discussing the conversation they overheard on the way to the rooms, and then they agree to go searching, but then Chuchi's like, oh, but you know, how are we gonna get past the guard? And Ahsoka's like, I could try mind tricking him. Well, have you done that before? It's like a few times, but that was just in training. But there's factors like I can try. And Chuchi's like, well, we don't have any other options. And then I would have that moment be the first time she mind tricks in this episode.
And I definitely have her struggle a lot more because it's so dumb. Like, it's completely backwards, because with the scene later on where she does the mind trick and she's like, oh, I've never done this before except in practice. And then she doesn't actually say the first time, and it's only the second time that she kind of struggles. It's like, why wouldn't it be the other way around?
Yeah, but the thing is, she says that she's never done it before, but she's been practicing or training or whatever, and it's like, okay, but how do you practice without doing it, right? So that's why I would kind of change her wording to be like, you know, I've done it a few times in training, right? So it's kind of suggesting that, yes, I've done it, but those were in controlled circumstances. And yeah, you're absolutely right. It should be harder for her the first time than the second time. So I would definitely have it that she kind of has to push or repeat herself or something. I don't know what you tell the guard, just like, you know, just wait here for us, you know. I solemnly swear I am not up to no good.
Probably something along the lines of let us go about our business.
So they get past that guard, and then I forget how they do all this, so. My things moved. I'd better spend a minute checking them.
Yeah, that's so stupid. I'd have her knock it over.
Yeah, that makes way more sense. So these things rattled. Let me get up and go check them. Actually, you could have it like that it's on his desk, and she kind of like waits until he's reaching for something, and then she knocks it over, so that it's like, oh, he thinks that he kind of not like, it's just kind of like, what? I didn't realize I'd even touched it, but like it, fell down. Now it's all over the floor, right? So he's got to crouch down on the floor and pick all those things up. Though you could argue it's still a bit convenient that he just you could have him doing some sort of thing like stamping stuff or whatever, right? So he's constantly reaching over and picking up the thing and then, stamping, moving the thing, and then reaching over again. And so then it's not like I guess we'll just wait here until he happens to reach over, but rather okay, I can take advantage of the fact that he's constantly reaching over and there's that thing right there on the desk that I can have him knock over, or finger quotes, knock over.
This is the ambassador's office.
The chairman's children are leverage. Besides, they're well taken care of.
Yes, but why on my ship?
First of all, how does Chuchi know that that's the ambassador's office? Like, how did they find their way there and they know that that's that?
That's a good question.
Right? Because it's like, we see them, here, we'll bring you to your rooms, and then they're sneaking around, and they go through one room, and aha, here we are at the office.
I was thinking, because after this scene, they just go straight to the detention center. They're like, oh, the girls are on board, so we just go straight to the detention center. But if they already had, because we changed it to they already had a suspicion that the girls were on board, then why go to the ambassador's office at all? Why not just go straight to the detention center?
Yeah, no, this whole scene is really just like here's the information you need and here's some tension. And yeah, it's very forced because of her whole So would we just then cut this scene entirely and just have it that the thing that gets knocked over is leading into the detention center? We already had the mind trick scene, so we could get rid of that in the detention center so it's not just repeating the same thing. Or do we want to have her do it one more time?
You don't necessarily have to have a guard physically blocking the way. So yeah, you could just have it that there's a guy sitting off to the side that they have
doing
to
paperwork,
momentarily distract.
Because the detention center in the original trilogy, in A New Hope there, then yeah, and they come down the elevators and then there's a few guards around that control panel. So you could have something similar to that, or yeah, just a guy at a desk or a control panel or something, and yeah, they just have to distract him and sneak by.
Also, if we're going off the original trilogy, that detention center actually had security cameras. Unlike this show, which doesn't use security cameras unless they're convenient for the plot.
And they have dramatic angles.
Yes, dramatic angles. So do we want to include some security cameras that Ahsoka has to disable?
Yeah, I think it'd be nice, because the one thing I do enjoy about this scene is the moment where Ahsoka kind of has to force lift Chuchi so that they don't get found, right? And we are trying to do this thing where it's showing what Ahsoka can do with just the Force instead of relying on her lightsaber or whatever. So then I would want absolutely to have more moments, big or small, where Ahsoka is using her Force powers. So yeah, something like pushing a camera so that it's pointed a different angle while they go by. I would even have a moment where, yeah, there's a hallway patrol or something like that, and then you have that moment where Ahsoka jumps up into the ceiling and then force lifts Chuchi, and then the patrol guards go by, and then she gently lets down Chuchi and jumps down herself, and they keep going. This extremely bare room, and the one guy stays standing but doesn't see the two girls dart out from under the table, and then they just leave again. So they literally we walked into this room to talk and then turned around and went back. It's not like we were actually walking through this room to go somewhere. We just came in here to say the information that these characters needed to hear and then turn around and go back.
Oh, it's so forced.
You will let me pass.
I will let you pass.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
she doesn't even
perfectly
have to
flawless.
try.
I'm
Just
sorry,
bam,
the
got it
detention
right off the
block.
bat.
You will let us both pass.
And then, oh, tension.
I will let you both pass.
And then, perfectly fine. Yeah, they would be much better to have that moment earlier in the episode.
Well, if you watched this far, thank you so much. And if you appreciate what it is we do here on the channel, you should check out our Patreon, link in the description. And don't forget to give this video a like, subscribe to the channel to stay tuned for future content. Share it around because we're a relatively small channel and it helps. Are you making that noise or is
I am
something else?
beatboxing.
Oh, you're
to-
beatboxing. Oh, okay.
I am horrible at beatboxing, so I'm doing it very, very quietly so that I'm just adding some like cool emphasis to your plug.
Okay, well, thank you for the emphasis. I completely forgot what I was saying. Yes, share the video. Help us get some more subscribers, some more viewers.
This is the 5th area we've checked, and there's no sign of the chairman's daughters.
Can't you sense where they are? Isn't that something you Jedi can do?
It's not something I can just turn on or off.
It's not something I can just turn on and off. That's exactly what it is! At least that's the way we've seen them use it in Season 2, in the Children of the Force, as well as Lightsaber Lost.
And Assassin.
Both times, it's like, oh, just focus on your senses.
Yeah, exactly.
And find the person. That's exactly what they do. And then here it's all of a sudden, I can't just turn it on and off.
Sinube told her if you quiet your mind, you can sense Banamu's anxiety. So it'd be reasonable to believe that
she would be, like, the daughter would be anxious. Yes.
Absolutely, yeah.
And again, this would be a perfect opportunity for it to be like, oh, I have learned this lesson. Now I'm going to apply it.
Exactly.
I would just have you see them in the hallway, and then Chuchi's like, you know, where do we even start? There's hundreds of cells, and then Ahsoka's just like, just give me a moment. You have to calm down so that like I can try to sense where they are. I think in the next scene, based on the thumbnails I'm seeing here, they immediately find her. The other thing is that they're literally just like walking down the hall past several cells going like, oh, this is the 5th spot we've checked. It's like, you're not checking. You're just walking down the hallway. Now I'm very curious, like, okay, how do they find her in the next section here? They probably just randomly open a door and they just randomly walk
She's in
up
this one.
to this one.
Wow. Okay, yeah, this sucks.
I have no words right now.
So instead of saying, let's hope she's in this one, Ahsoka will say, she's in this one, because she can sense it.
I was going to say, yeah, in the other one as well. They were just walking. They like to just walk. We might be discovered at any moment. Let's just take a leisurely stroll through the detention center.
There you go.
So yeah, I would have it that they do stop so that Ahsoka can do her sensing, and then they run.
Okay, so she doesn't have her lightsaber, so I'd have her just force push the droids.
Yeah, you could have her force push the droids, or like the droids react a little faster, and then she force pushes the one as he's shooting, like, so she pushes the blaster so that it points at the other droid, you know, as he's pulling the trigger, and then so he shoots his buddy, and then she, force pushes that one, and then, you know, Chuchi runs forward, grabs the destroyed droid's blaster, and then shoots the one that Ahsoka just threw into the corner. And so now Chuchi has a blaster, and the two droids are taken care of. But Chuchi also got a cool moment instead of showboating just the one character.
Stop there!
I love how he just like stands off to the side. Yeah.
Damn,
no
you're
problems
right.
at all.
This is total showboating of Ahsoka over Chuchi.
I love how she's saying surrender, separatist, when at the beginning of the episode they made it very clear that technically the Trade Federation is neutral.
We are not separatists simply because we do business with them. How many times must I remind you of the Commerce Treaty of 1647? The Trade Federation is neutral.
She sees it as black and white. If you're not with the Republic, then you are with the Separatists. There is no middle ground.
So I'd maybe cut the number of droids in half so it's a bit more manageable for an unarmed Jedi to handle.
And like I said, Chuchi has a blaster, so Chuchi can help. So yeah, between Ahsoka force pushing blasters up and away or whatever, then Chuchi's just standing a step behind, but like beside Ahsoka, and just going pew, 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 pew. And the two of them, look cool together.
Okay, Ahsoka's like literally threatening an unarmed person right now.
Yeah, she is.
She loves holding her lightsaber to people's throats.
I would have it that they finish off the droids. Because in this version, he's just like, oh, take her out. And then he just like stands off to the side so that they can fire at her. I would have him be behind the droids, but then when Chuchi starts shooting, then he like, right? So then he kind of dives down and crouches in the corner of the hallway, and then the droids fall around him as the girls take them out. And then when the shooting stops, he kind of like looks around and then looks up, and both girls are standing over him, and Chuchi's not holding the gun to him, but like she's got it ready in her hands, maybe like pointing down at the ground, like away, just like basically I'd have like a cool up shot of the two girls, like kind of like back to back almost, but like facing him, right? So they're like I would just have like a cool shot of the girls, and then Rio's the one who's like, surrender. Then this guy comes in.
You've been holding the chairman of Pantor's daughter as a hostage.
What? Sipkane, what is she talking about?
Isn't this the same guy we saw in that meeting room earlier? And he was fully aware of the fact that the senator's kidnapped child was on board?
Yeah, I'm very confused.
And now he's all like, what are you talking about? Would we want him to be in on it? Earlier I suggested that as these two are walking away after bringing the girls to their room, that one of them is like, oh, what if they find out? Oh, shh, right? So do we want to change that to it's a guard and the guy who's in on it, that kind of exchange there?
I'd have Kane talking to like a head guard or something.
And then this guy's not in on it. You could have this be the guy that they were supposed to meet, because they arrived and it's like, oh, the person that you were going to talk to has been called away, but as soon as he returns, right? Like that's how we kind of have this set up. So maybe this is the guy who they were supposed to meet. Do we want to have Ahsoka's lines stay with Ahsoka and then Chuchi steps forward here like she does, or do we want to kind of switch it around or just give it all to Chuchi? Or
I think I'd just give it all to Chuchi. She's the one with authority here, right?
Perhaps your business is war profiteering.
How dare you?
I dare, because you claim to have no involvement, and yet here stands the chairman's daughter on your ship, held by your administrator. You could of course be persuaded to defend your unfortunate circumstances to the Senate. That is, if this blockade ended.
Chuchi phrases it as, oh, this unfortunate circumstance that we found, the the chairman's daughter on your ship, but like the first thing Ahsoka says is, you've been holding them hostage on your ship, how dare you?
You've been holding the chairman of Pantor's daughter as a hostage.
And yeah, this guy doesn't necessarily know what's going on. I think that's the end of it. And then you don't even see Ahsoka anymore. I would maybe have Ahsoka just kind of standing in the back in the doorway, like Anakin does sometimes with Padme.
I almost wish we could like include a little line where Ahsoka's like, hey, you've really come a long way since I last saw you. Because that's how I feel about the character. You see her in Trespass where she's all timid and quiet, and then you see her here where she's like super assertive and it's like, you go, girl. So if we could find a way to voice that through Ahsoka, I think that'd be a nice moment to have.
You could potentially have it after she kind of blackmails the separatist guy there. And then he's like, I'll see what I can do. And he starts to walk away. And Ahsoka just kind of like, you know, taps Chuchi on the shoulder, and she's just like, wow, when I met you, you know, you were a totally different person. Like, I don't know what you wouldn't want to make a big speech of it. You would just want to have something that's just like, yeah, you know, good for you. And then maybe have Chuchi have a line be like, thank you for coming with me to help. I don't know if I could have done this without you, right? Because yeah, Ahsoka
as it is,
did.
it's so weird because yeah, like she's not there in the setup and she's not there in the ending.
It's just kind of like, oh, we need Chuchi to do this thing, but she can't really do it by herself. Well, we'll just throw in Ahsoka. They're good friends now.
Yeah, again, it's Ahsoka being used as a plot device. That's not respectful treatment of a character at all. Anyway, do we have any takeaways for this episode?
Other than kind of another point of seeing the limits of the Jedi's influence / ability to help, I think what we kind of want to take away from this is her kind of realizing that she can help people without being a Jedi kind of thing. So she's seen a few times now that, you know, the Jedi can't always help, and now she's seeing that she can help as not a Jedi.
That'd be great setup for season 7. Don't you love it when you're writing and these amazing ideas just kind of fall into your lap? I love that.
It really is such a nice feeling when you're just like, oh, this works! This works!
And then the rest of the time you just struggle to find any inspiration at all.
Yeah. Writing is the best and worst thing that a writer can do.
Okay, so next up, we're doing the Academy.
Yes, I'm looking forward to that one because it, like everything else, is a dumpster fire.
Yes.
It's one of those ones that the first time we watched it, it was just like, oh yeah, this is, yeah, I mean, it's not great, but like, it's fine. And now I look at it and I'm like, what is this? Join us next time for Season 3, Episode 6, The Academy, which should have been the one we did this time, but people voted against me.
People like donuts, what can I say?